To follow along with the written version of this pattern and download the PDF version, go to clubcrochet.com/Stegosaurus. Hey there, it's Louie, and in this video I'm going to be showing you how to crochet a little tiny Stegosaurus dinosaur. Really quick before I get hooking, if you like this pattern and you want more dinosaur patterns like it, check out the rest of my crochet dinosaur patterns at clubcrochet.com/dino. There's a T-Rex, which is the newest one in the patterns. I'm really proud of this pattern. I think it's really cool. You might have seen this one in the past, a crocheted Triceratops. This is a free pattern you can find at clubcrochet.com/Triceratops. And there is a Brontosaurus pattern, and I've recently updated this pattern to include new feet and a brand new spine. Again, you can find all these patterns at clubcrochet.com/dino. All right, well, let's get these out of the way and talk about this newest pattern. So for this pattern, we're going to be using the following materials. I'm using all worsted weight yarn in 100% cotton. I'm going to be using two colors, color A and color B. Color A and color B. We're going to call what we use for our spine and our little spikes here color A, and color B will be the main body. For our colors, I'm going to be using this light green for color B and this darker green for color A. You'll also need a size G 4mm crochet hook since we're using worsted weight cotton yarn. And you'll need some safety bead eyes. I believe I'm using 8mm safety bead eyes. You'll need some stuffing, some scissors, and a darning needle to sew in the ends. I suggest using a crimped end darning needle like this. It'll help you get in and out of hard to reach spots. All right, well, without further ado, let's get hooking. We're gonna start by making our little tail spikes here. Okay, so for our tail spikes, we're going to be using this color A yarn, which is going to be our darker green. And we're going to start with a slip knot. Get our crochet hook in there. And we're going to start by chaining 2. So just 2 chains. So 1 and 2. We're going to pull that slightly tighter and work into the back loop of the first chain that we made. That's this one right here. And the back loop is, if you turn it around, you see this little loop on the back. You want to get into that right here. You might need your nail to get into there, to get it over the crochet hook. There we go. And we're going to just do a slip stitch into that back loop. Okay, that'll make a little point like that. Now we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. You want to pull that a little tighter and working into the second chain from the hook into the back loop only. Here you can see the back loop right there, right here. So we're going to get our crochet hook into that back loop. We're going to do another slip stitch into that back loop. So yarn over, pull through, and pull through. Okay, and that'll make 2 little spikes like that. Now to finish up this these little tail spikes, you're going to want to chain 1. And we want to cut the yarn. You don't need too long of an end. About that is probably fine. And we can just pull it all the way through. And we're going to sew this onto the tail near the end of the video. Make sure to make 2 of these. All right, next up is the spikes that will go along the back of our Triceratops, or I mean our Stegosaurus. We're going to start the same way with a slip knot. Get our crochet hook in there. And we're going to start with color A again. And to start, we're going to chain 3. So 1, 2, and 3. Now we're going to be working into the back loops of these chains for this entire pattern here. So for all of these spikes, you're going to be working into the back loops of the chains. So we're going to start into our second chain from the hook there, and we're going to do a single crochet 2 together into the second and third chain from the hook. So we're going to take your crochet hook, go into the second chain from the hook right here. We're going to yarn over and pull a loop through, and then go into the next chain right here. Again, you're going to need your nail. Yarn over and pull a second loop through. Now you should have 3 loops on the hook. To finish this up, we're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 of those loops on the hook like that. That's going to create one of the spines right there. Now we're going to continue by chaining 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we're going to do the same thing into the next 2 chains. So we're going to skip the first chain and working into the second and third chain from the hook, we're going to do another single crochet 2 together. So get your crochet hook into the second chain from the hook, yarn over and pull through, into the third chain from the hook. There we go. Yarn over and pull through again, and then yarn over and pull through all 3. Okay, so there's 2 of our spikes done. Now we're going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Starting into the second and third chain from the hook, we'll single crochet 2 together again. Okay, so 1 and 2. Yarn over and pull through for the single crochet 2 together. And now into the next chain, you want to do a double crochet. So we're going to yarn over, go into this next chain, yarn over and pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, and then yarn over and pull through 2 more. Okay, so you can see that one's just a slightly larger spike. Get a little bit more yarn here. Now we're going to make 2 more of these smaller spikes right here. So we're going to repeat that one again 2 more times. So we're going to yarn over and we're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Working into the second and third chain from the hook, we'll do a single crochet 2 together. So 1 and 2. Yarn over and pull through. And then we're going to repeat that 1 more time. Chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Starting into the second and third chain, we're going to do a single crochet 2 together. 1 and 2. And then yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on the hook there. To finish these spikes up, we're going to chain 1. We can cut the yarn. You want to leave a decently long end this time because we're going to be using it to sew this entire piece on. So like, I don't know, about that. It's about like maybe 2 feet. Cut the yarn and just pull it all the way through. Okay, so now we have our back spike and our tail spikes done. We can start working on our body. Okay, so for our body, we're going to be using our color B yarn, which is our lighter green. We're going to start with a magic loop. So I like holding my palm out and wrapping around my index finger 3 times. So 1, 2, 3. Take the end, hold it in between your middle and ring finger, and pull it in like a little finger gun. Now take your crochet hook, and we're going to go under the first 2 loops, 1, 2, and then yarn over with the third and pull that under the first 2. Okay, now we're going to yarn over with that same end right here and pull through again, which will make a chain. And now we can pull this off of our finger. And we have our magic loop made. Okay, so for round 1 of the body, we're going to be single crocheting 6 times into the magic loop right here. So we're going to go into the loop with your crochet hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, and pull through 2, which will make a single crochet. You want to do 6 of those into the same spot. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now we can pull this tighter to close up this magic loop. And I like pulling the tail, which will pull one of these 2 ends in. Make note of which one it pulls in and grab the one that it pulled in and pull it down. Okay, and that's going to pull this other loop tighter. Once that other loop is tight enough, you can pull this tail, which will tighten the second loop. There we go. And that's going to be how you make a magic loop and the end of round 1. Now this pattern is worked completely in the round, meaning that we are not going to turn for the rest of this pattern. It's just going to be worked in a spiral. Boop, 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 boop. So for round 2, we're going to just be working around, and we're going to do a single crochet into the first stitch. Here's our first one. If you need to count backwards to find your first stitch, you count back 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we're going to want to go into both loops under both of the V right there and we're going to do a single crochet into the first stitch right here. Okay, so 1 single crochet, and then we want to do an increase into the next stitch. So here's the next stitch, and we're going to do 2 single crochets to make an increase. 1 and 2. Okay, now we're going to repeat that process 3 times total, so 2 more times. 1 single crochet and then an increase. Okay, so here's our next stitch. Let's start our second repeat. Single crochet, and then in the next stitch an increase. There we go. And we're going to repeat that this is going to bring us from 6 stitches to 9 stitches. So let's go into the next stitch right here, do our last repeat, 1 single crochet, and then finally an increase right here. Okay, now let's cut this end. We don't really need this tail end very long, so you can make about that long's just about fine. I'm going to put this to the side. We can use it to stuff our character a little bit later, so just hold on to it. That's going to be the end of round 2. For round 3 and 4, that's 2 rounds in a row, we're just going to be single crocheting into each stitch around. So just 2 rounds of just single crochets around. Now there should be 9 stitches in each of the rounds. So 2 rounds of just single crochets. This part's pretty easy. I like the rounds where we just got to do single crochets because it's kind of like a little breather in the pattern. Although this pattern is, I would say, relatively easy. The hard part is sewing on the spines, in my opinion. Okay, so we just finished our first round. Now we're on to our second round, round 4. Okay, nearly done. 3 more stitches. 1, 2, and here is our third. Okay, that will be the end of round 4. For round 5, you want to single crochet into the first 2 stitches and then increase into the next. So we're going to single crochet in the first 2. Let's create a stitch marker to make it easier for you to see where the beginning and the ends of the rounds are. To do that, we're going to grab a different color of yarn. Let's go with this orange yarn here, and we're going to crochet around it for our first stitch. Okay. Just crochet around it, and again for this round, you're going to do, there we go, 2 single crochets. So there's 1, there's the end of our round there, and 2, and then we'll work an increase into the next stitch. So 2 single crochets and then an increase. Okay, and we're going to repeat that process 3 times total. So let's do our second repeat. Again, that's 2 single crochets, 1, 2, and then another increase. And let's do one last repeat, 2 single crochets, 1, 2, and then another increase. And this is going to bring you up from 9 stitches to 12 stitches. So you should have 12 stitches by the end of round 5, which is where we're at. Okay, so let's pull this stitch marker out a little bit more, and we're going to pull it up and work around it to keep track of where we're at. And now we are on round 6. For round 6, we're going to do a single crochet into the first stitch right here, and then an increase into the next stitch. And we will repeat that process 6 times total. So a single crochet and then an increase 6 times in a row. That's going to bring you up from 12 stitches to 18 stitches. So we should have 18 stitches by the end of round 6 here. So that's our third repeat, single crochet, and then an increase. We'll just keep doing that. Single crochet, increase. And we won't be increasing for the rest of this pattern. 18 is the largest stitch count that you will get to. Okay, here's our last bit right here, a single crochet, and then an increase right here. Okay, let's pull our stitch marker up. We'll work around it. Okay, so now we are on round 7. For round 7, we're going to be making our little feet. So keep track of that. We'll be doing a stitch called the bobble stitch, which I'll show you in just a second. So we're going to start by doing 1 single crochet. And then we'll do a bobble stitch. For a bobble stitch, you yarn over, go into the next stitch right here, yarn over again and pull a loop through, then yarn over a third time and pull through 2 loops that are on the hook. And we're going to repeat that 4 times in a row into the same stitch. Okay, so there's our first one. Let's do another repeat. We're going to yarn over, go into the same stitch you just worked into, pull a loop through, yarn over again, pull through 2 loops on the hook, and there's our second repeat. Let's do it 2 more times. Yarn over into the exact same stitch, yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through 2. Okay, 1 more repeat, yarn over, go into the same stitch, yarn over and pull through, and then yarn over and pull through 2. Now you should have 5 loops on the stitch, and you can yarn over and pull through all 5 of those loops. And that is how you do a bobble stitch. We'll be using this for all of the legs, and we'll do our second leg in just a second. Okay, so now we can work into the next stitch right here. You want to do 2 single crochets into the next 2 stitches. So right here, we'll do our first single crochet. There's 1. Once I pull it a little tighter to keep that bobble stitch on the outside. And here's our second single crochet. And now we can do another bobble stitch right here. Again, we're going to yarn over into the stitch, yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through 2, and we'll repeat that 4 times. So yarn over into the stitch, yarn over and pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. There's 2 repeats. Make sure to pull through all the loops there. You can see I've split the yarn slightly, so you want to get through all that yarn. Yarn over into the stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over and pull through 2. 1 more, yarn over into the stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over and pull through 2. Now you can finish up by yarning over and pulling through all the loops on the hook. Okay. So now for the rest of round 7, you want to single crochet till we get to the end of the round. That should be 13 more single crochets. So just single crocheting till we get to the end of this round. And we'll just keep working our way around here. Let's get a little bit more yarn there. Okay, coming to the end here. This is why we use a stitch marker. It's easier to tell where to finish doing rounds like this. One more right here. And there we go. That's going to be the end of round 7. Okay, so next up we want to add our eyes, and the eyes are going to go on either side of the body, just above the bobble stitch. Here you can see where I put them on the other pieces here, and I will show you exactly the spots to put them into. Okay, so let's place it right down right here. You want to, your eyes should come in 2 different ways, in 2 different pieces. There's this end and then these little stoppers that we can put on the inside. If you don't have little safety bead eyes like this, you can use bullion knots and they will work just as well. For the first eye, we're going to find our last increase right here. Here you can see the end of our round right there, and you want to go 1 stitch above it. So it's going to be like right there. Okay, so here is our last increase of, I believe that's round 5. So if you look at the last increase from round 5, you count up 2, 1, 2. It's going to be where our first eye is going to be. And then on the other side, we're going to find that that last increase from round 5. And I think we're going to go up one right here. Well, we might go right here. Let's see. That's going to be too close. Okay, so we're going to go right there. And let's look at that. Okay, so that one's going to be, if you find let's go ahead and find the foot, and we'll count up 2 stitches away from the foot. So 1, 2, and then 3 stitches up from that. So 2 stitches away from the foot, 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3 into the top of that one right there. Oopsies, right there. Okay, so once you have the eyes where you want them, let's grab this little end here and we can pull it, we can put it in on the inside. But first, let's get this stitch marker out of the way, or else we'll lock our stitch marker in with it. So let's go ahead and pull this stitch marker out. Like that. Yeah, that should work. And then we'll just lock our eye into place. There's one. And then the other eye. There we go. All right, so the eyes have it. Okay, that was dumb. All right, let's continue our piece here. Let's go ahead and pull this stitch marker so that it's on the inside of our piece instead of on the outside. Like that. And pull our stitch marker on the outside again so we can work around it for the beginning of our next round. Okay. So now we are on round 8 through 10. So for our next 3 rounds, 8, 9, and 10, 3 rounds in a row, we're just going to be single crocheting into each stitch around. And there should be 18 stitches for each round. So we're just going to work around this end there. We'll just do a single crochet all the way around. If you like this video and you've successfully crocheted one of these pieces, please share a photo with me. You can either share it on Instagram or Facebook. If you post it on Instagram, use hashtag Club Crochet. That's the easiest way for me to see your post. So just post with hashtag Club Crochet and I'll see it. You can also tag me. I'm at Louie's Loops. Or you can tag Club Crochet on Instagram. That's club.crochet. And on Facebook, it's official Club Crochet. I'd love to see it though. A lot of people send me the Triceratops pattern and it's really, really cool to see, but it'd be great to see more dinosaurs that people crochet. Okay, so this is the end of our first round of our 3-round repeat of just single crochets. Now we can pull our stitch marker up, keep going. Oh, let's make sure that's on the inside. Okay. And do 2 more rounds of single crochets here. So now we're on round 9. Also, if you like these patterns and you're not already a Club Crochet member, you should really consider becoming one. It's the best way to support this channel and the best way to get all of the patterns from the Club Crochet library. So I try to do at least one new pattern every single month to add to the library, and Club Crochet members have access to all of the patterns in the library. I've got I think that's a little bit of my hair. Make sure that's not in there. And you can learn more about that at clubcrochet.com. Like I said, members get access to all the patterns in the Club Crochet library. They get early access to patterns, they get exclusive tutorials, and they can even get kits mailed directly to their door with all the materials they need. This month's kit is actually for 3 dinosaurs, so it's for the T-Rex pattern. Let's, by the way, I'm at the end of our round 9 here. Let's do round 10, one more round of single crochets. So this month's kit was to crochet a Triceratops, a T-Rex, and a Stegosaurus, all 3 of those into one kit. So it's pretty cool. Again, clubcrochet.com to learn more about that. All right, rocking and rolling. it's really cool how quick this pattern is, because I believe we're a little bit more than halfway. So it's one of those nice quick patterns that you can hook up in no time, just to have a last minute gift for a baby shower or for a friend. I'm trying to work on making a new board game that uses these pieces too. I've got an idea for them escaping a volcano. I think it'd be fun. All right, so that's going to be the end of round 10. And now we are on round 11. For round 11, let's start by pulling up the stitch marker here. We're going to single crochet into the first 2 stitches. Let's try that again. There we go. 1 and 2. And now we'll do another bobble stitch for the first part of the back legs. So again, a bobble stitch, you yarn over, go into the next stitch, yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through 2, and repeat that 4 times total. There's our second repeat. Yarn over into the same stitch, through, pull through 2. There's 3, and 4. To finish that up, we're going to yarn over and pull through all 5 loops on the hook. There we go. Now we'll single crochet into the next 3 stitches. 1, 2, and 3, and then do our next bobble stitch for our other back leg right here. 1, 2. I'm going a little quicker for this bobble stitch since I have taught it a few times. If you need more help, you can go to clubcrochet.com/bobble and it'll teach you how to do that stitch in a little bit more detail. Okay, so that's the end of our little legs there. To finish up round 11 here, round 11, we're going to single crochet into the remaining 11 stitches. So just single crochet 11 more times. Okay, come to the end of this round, and then we can start working on the tail. Luckily, the tail is just worked by continuing this same pattern. So you don't have to sew anything on there. The only thing you got to sew on is the spikes and the tail spikes. All right, let's pull our stitch marker up here. Okay, it's going to be the end of round 11. For round 12, another round of just single crochets into each stitch all the way around. So relatively easy, just doing single crochets into each stitch. There still should be 18 stitches around. Don't forget to make sure that this bobble stitch is on the outside of your piece. And you can tell the outside of the piece because of all these V's here. Okay. Oopsies. There we go. Okay. 3 more. Whoop. Gotta watch out for getting this stitch marker is becoming a bit of a hassle. We keep accidentally grabbing it. All right, so that's going to be the end of round 12. For round 13, we're going to start decreasing down for our tail. Let's pull this stitch marker up. And we're going to do a single crochet into the first stitch right here. Then we're going to do a stitch called the invisible decrease. For the invisible decrease, we're going to take our crochet hook and we're going to go into the front loop of the next 2 stitches. Okay, so the front loop is just this one right there. So we're going to go into that front loop and then into our second front loop. It's easiest to do it one at a time. And then we're going to work a single crochet into both of those front loops. So we're going to yarn over, pull through those 2 front loops, yarn over again, and pull through to make an invisible decrease. And we're going to repeat that process of doing 1 single crochet and then an invisible decrease 6 times total. Okay, and that's going to bring you down from 18 stitches to 12 stitches. So you're going to come back down to 12 stitches at the end of this round. Let's do that repeat for our second repeat right here. 1 single crochet and then invisible decrease. Front loop, single crochet. Okay, here's our third repeat, single crochet, front loop, boop, front loop, single crochet. All right. 1, 2. I love invisible decreases. They are the cleanest way to add a decrease to your piece where you can't see it. If you have any questions about decreases, I have a video where I teach the 3 kinds of decreases. In this pattern, we're using the two kinds of decreases: single crochet 2 together, which is what we used in the back spikes to create the spikes, and then this invisible decrease. All right, so that's going to be the end of round 13. Let's get our stitch marker over. For round 14, we're just going to do a single crochet into each stitch all the way around. So that's just 12 single crochets. Just keep working our way around it. So just a single crochet into each stitch around. And again, you should have 12 stitches. 12 stitches. And our piece is getting small enough now where it's getting a little bit more difficult to keep your finger in the piece while you're crocheting. So I'll show you the best way to combat that in just a second when it gets way too small for you to crochet like this. Because you can see I have my little finger on the inside to hold it into place. Okay, 2 more stitches here. 1 and 2. Okay, so that's going to be the end of round 14. For round 15, we'll be doing 2 single crochets and then an invisible decrease. So let's do that. We'll do 2 single crochets. Let's get our stitch marker over. Like that. We'll go 1 and 2. And then an invisible decrease. So front loop, pull through. Okay, so 2 single crochets, then an invisible decrease. We're going to repeat that 3 times total. Okay, so there's our first one. Let's do a second one right here. Single crochet, and you can see how I'm working it now. Instead of having my finger in there, I'm pinching it. 2. And then front loop, boom. Okay, last repeat, 2 single crochets, 1, 2, and then invisible decrease. Okay, oopsies, there we go. Let's get our little character up a little bit there. You can see how it's decreasing down for our tail. All right, so that's going to be the end of round 15. For round 16, we're going to just single crochet into each stitch around. Get our stitch marker over there. We're just going to easily work into both loops, single crochet into each stitch around. Now, there should be 9 stitches for this round. So just 9 single crochets around. Okay, whoop. Two more. 1 and 2. Okay. So that will be the end of round 16. Now before I continue, let's pull this stitch marker out a little bit, and we're going to stuff it somewhat. You just want to get the head and the body about up to there stuffed up. So we're going to grab our little ends that we don't need anymore and some stuffing. And I like using, you can either use the back end of your crochet hook if you have a rubber crochet hook like I do right here. That's the easiest way I've found because the rubber really grips onto the stuffing. Another great way to do it, I'm going to try to not get our stitch marker stuffed in there. There we go. Another great thing to use is a little stick like this. Okay, get a little bit more stuffing here. And I'm going to hold all of these ends in one hand just to keep them out of the way as I stuff it up. If you don't have a little crochet hook like this or a stick like this, using the eraser end of a pencil is also another nice little trick you can use for a stuffing stick in a pinch. The eraser holds onto the stuffing really easily. Okay, so one of the things that you want to make sure you do, which I didn't do as well as I'd like to, is you want to try to get more stuffing into that head. So you can kind of see how there's like not that much stuffing in there. So you want to, I'm going to use my stick for this part to kind of work the stuffing into the head there. And you can't really see what I'm doing, but I'm basically just making sure the stuffing is in the head a little bit more. Okay. And he's almost there. Let's just add just a little bit more into the body. Okay. And there you go. Now we got our guy stuffed pretty well. We can continue crocheting. Okay, so now we are on round 17. For round 17, we're decreasing down to 6 stitches around. To do that, we're going to single crochet into the first stitch, working around our stitch marker here. Single crochet 1 into the first stitch, and then invisible decrease into the next. So front loop, and then front loop. There we go. And then single crochet into those front loops. And we're going to repeat that process 3 times total. So 2 more times. Single crochet into both loops. And then invisible decrease. Whoop. 2. Boo. There we go. 1 more. Single crochet. And then invisible decrease. Front loop. Front loop. Here we go. And that'll be the end of round 17. You see our little tail coming together there. Now we only have 1 more round here. For round 18, we're going to just single crochet into each stitch all the way around. I'm not going to work around our stitch marker here because this will be the last round. So we'll just go 1. Should be 6 stitches. 2. 3, 4, 5, and 6, and that will be the end of round 18. Now before we totally finish, this isn't a total round, but you do want to single crochet 2 more times. So after that round, you want to do 2 more single crochets. This will be how you finish it. 1 and 2, and then a slip stitch into the last one right here. Okay, there you go. And then we can just cut the yarn and pull it all the way through, and we're going to stuff that closed. Now first, before you want to sew it closed, you want to add a little bit more stuffing into the tail end right here. Looks like we're going to need our stick for this part. And we can get our stitch marker out. We can actually stuff him with our stitch marker if we would like. But I think I'll just add regular stuffing for this one. Let's start up here. Whoopsies. Gotta hold on tighter. He's a wily one. He wants to get out. He's like, I'm done. I'm like, no. You still need to add your spikes, buddy. There we go. Should like tweak them a little bit to make sure those stitches aren't pulled out too much. And then we'll add the rest of our stuffing into this tail using this here stick here. This here stick here. Let's use the other end. We don't need too much more. That's pretty good. Well, we can add just a little bit, tiny bit more in the end right there. Okay. There we go. And now to finish this up, let's sew our tail closed. Put that to the side. I like to take my darning needle, thread it on, and I'll show you my little technique for sewing closed. I count around 3 stitches from the end. So this is our last stitch that we made our slip stitch into. I call that stitch 0, and I count up from that. 1, 2, 3. I go into the top of 3 and come out through 0 and pull it almost tight, but not too tight like that. And then I'm going to go down through 4, which is going to be the stitch just to the right of 3 right here, and go down and go across through 1, which is the stitch next to 0. And once you have your crochet or your needle into that stitch, you can pull the first one tighter. Okay. And then you want to go down through 5, which is the stitch just to the right of 4. So right here, in through that stitch, and then out through 2, which is the one right next to 1 right there. And once you have that needle in there, you pull that tight. Try to make sure your end is over the top of the tail there. And then finally, we'll go in through where that comes out right here. And we're going to go through the bottom of our piece, pretty much anywhere. And we'll pull it tight. And then cut the yarn nice and close. There we go. Now our piece is sewn up. Now we can add our spikes and our tail spikes. So first, let's grab our tail spikes, and we'll add those first. So you should have 2 ends of these tail spikes. We're going to start by threading this end. And we're going to go on either side of the tail. Now make sure there's 1 stitch right at the top right here. So we're not going to work into this stitch right there, right in the middle. Okay, so just make sure that is not worked into. We're going to go in through just the side of our piece, like right here. We're going to go, let's go down 1 right here. Pull through, and we want to go over the top of our spike, so over the top of it, because you want to pull over that and into the same stitch you just came out of, like right there, and come out somewhere close, like right there. Okay, and again, you want to make sure it pulls tight around the outside like that. You want to pull it nice and tight on the inside, and that'll pull that spike in. And then you want to thread the other end of your tail spike. And we'll go in through a stitch, the next stitch up, like right here. Actually, let's go a stitch up, like right here. And we'll go down through the tail end, right there. The same spot you came out of for the first tail end. And you want to pull both of these tight, and it'll create a little spike. See? The 2 little boop, boop. And then we can just double knot those on the inside as long as you came out through the exact same stitch. Just double knot those. We can cut the yarn nice and close and use the end of our needle to just kind of stuff that in. We'll just... There we go. We got 1 of the tail spikes sewn on. Let's do the other tail spike on the right next to it. We're going to need that in a second. And here's our other tail spike. So thread the 1 end of our tail spike. We're going to go on the opposite side of the tail. Oh, let's try threading this onto their needle again. There we go. Okay, so it looks like this is the stitch that we want to save for the back spike. So let's do, it looks like we got a stitch in between. So like right, I don't know, like right here. Well, this part can be kind of hard to decide, you know. Let's go like right here and we'll come out right there. Oops. And again, you're going around the outside of the spike and back into the same exact stitch and come out somewhere on the bottom. And make sure that that you're going around the little bridge between the two spikes. Like that. See? And then we'll just pull that tight. And then grab this other end, go in through the next stitch, and then out through the same spot. There you go. You can see how the spikes are going to be sewn on. Make sure to pull both of these ends nice and tight. Looks pretty good. And then we can just cut or double knot the ends here as long as they came out through the same spot. You can double knot them and then cut it nice and close. Just 1, 2. Cut right there. We'll throw that to the side and then just take this little end of our needle and just kind of get it stuffed in there. Okay. All right, so we got our tail spikes on there. Now we just need our spine along the top. So for our spine along the top, you should have 2 ends. You want to take the longer end first. Thread that on the needle. And remember that spot in between the spikes? Like right, let's go with like right here. We're going to go up, start into that stitch. We're going to go up 2 stitches up. So this part can be a little tricky. So you want to go into the stitch and we want to work around some of the ends here. We want to make sure that it goes perpendicular. I mean, not perpendicular, but straight up, like straight like that on the back. So finding the spots can be a little tricky. The way I like to do it is I like to go in and then out through a stitch above to the side. And then I like to go around into the first spike, so into the side right here, and then into the stitch to the right of that, like that, and then up through the next stitch. Okay, so as we go through this, as we're sewing on these spikes, we want to work our first sew on into the spike the way we're doing it right now with a stitch in between, and then the next piece we're going to go around like we did on these little spikes things. We're going to go around the bridge in between each of the spikes and work into the same stitch. Okay, so I know that sounds a little weird. Well, let's start with this part where we're going in around the spike and then out through the next stitch. Okay, and then when we get to a bridge, which should be every other stitch, we want to go around the bridge and in through the same stitch you're coming out of, and then out through the next stitch up the top. Make sure it goes around the bridge. Pull it tight. And then now that we are not on a bridge stitch, we're going into the spike, to the very base of the spike, and then in through the next stitch over right here, and then out through the next stitch up right here, which is where we're going to go around the bridge. Oopsies. Make sure you don't get too tangled up there. Okay. So now we're on a bridge. So we go over the bridge, in, and out through the next stitch up, where we're going to work around that stitch. And when you get to the bigger spike, there's one spike that's slightly larger than the other four. You want to work twice into this body. Okay, so we're going to go in through the body, into the base of the piece, and then down through the next stitch up. We're going to do that again right here. In through the body of our piece, of our spike, to the next stitch up, and then we can go into the stitch above that where we can work around the bridge of the next part. I hope this is making sense. Makes sense in my brain. Okay, so we're going to go around the bridge, into the same stitch, up a stitch, where we can work around the stitch. Okay, make sure to go around that bridge, through the base of the next spike, through the next stitch up, and then up through the next one so we can work around for the bridge. See how it's going? Around the bridge, into the same stitch. This is going to be the last one. I'm going to go around the next stitch and into the base of the next spike. Oopsies. You really want to make sure that goes around the bridge. Like that. Now we have one more spike to work around. To the base of the spike, in through the next stitch over, and then for this last one we're just going to go in through somewhere on the side, somewhere that's pretty close, because we're going to double knot. Make sure to tweak it so that the spikes are straight up, and then we can thread the other end, go in through the next stitch up and out through the same place that we went out for the first tail end. Thread this other end here. Just go ahead and pull that in. Make sure that knot is nice and pulled tight. See how the spikes are going up? Then we can double knot these two ends on the inside. One. And two. We can cut the end relatively close. Throw that to the side. And we can use the end of our needle to stuff that knot back into our piece like that. There we go. Make sure to tweak it. Make sure our spikes are nice and straight. Tail spikes are nice and pointy. And there we go. We have a little Stegosaurus. There we go. Look at all every side of it. Make sure it looks all nice and cute. All right. Well, thank you guys again for watching this video and making this pattern. Please share a photo with me by using hashtag Club Crochet or tagging me on social media. And check out more of my dinosaur patterns like this Triceratops, this Brontosaurus, and this T-Rex by going to clubcrochet.com/dino. Thanks again for watching. Pasta la pizza and happy hooking. All right.